Hello, everybody. Julie was just saying how good my timing was. I did it on purpose. Like a kung fu fighter. Like the song says, I have extra time. Thoroughly explaining terrible on me here, it's funny. I've been doing a lot of research on the anatomy of laughter and what happens to our bodies when we laugh. And one of the things that I found very interesting is that laughter and crying, if you ever take note, the exact same things happen to our bodies when you're in fits of extreme laughter and fits of extreme crying. Your body goes through the exact same thing, the shortness of breathing and the moving of the shoulders and the tightening of the face. Albeit, when you're smiling, the face, when you're laughing, you're smiling, so the face goes one way. When you're crying, usually the face goes the other way. But both ways, it's usually kind of ugly. I've seen some ugly laugh faces, and I've seen some ugly cry faces. It's not fun. But yeah, it's just been very interesting. And then again, I went and started looking at a lot more of the health benefits and stats and statistics. Like women laugh like 130% more than men do. 130% more. And apparently it's evolutionary because men are attracted to women who laugh in their presence. Again, just remember, we like cute laugh. We're no, moderation. Keep it in the box. And it got me to thinking. I've been watching a documentary on a man by the name of Arthur C. Clarke. And if you have no idea who that is, he was a science fiction writer who wrote, I think the work that most people are familiar with that he wrote is 2001: A Space Odyssey. They made it into a movie a couple of years ago. And because of yes, no? Yes. Yes, he knows, yes, see, we have because he knows silent. You had to be here last week. You weren't here last week. You missed it. Anyway. But one of the things that Arthur C. Clarke was mostly responsible for was that in his writing, he theorized the concept of something that we take for granted every day, and that is man-made satellites. As a matter of fact, he started the experiments where he sent radio signals to the moon and back, and it took too long, and so he theorized, he didn't make any of them, he just theorized, that, well, what we need are man-made satellites. And so because of Arthur C. Clarke, we now have communication satellites that orbit the Earth all the time. So much so that the belt around the Earth wherein those satellites orbit is now named after him. All of that to be said, in addition to satellites, they've created radio satellites and radio telescopes. And with those telescopes, they've been able to find other worlds that they think may be similar to ours. And they don't know for sure because they're so far away, we just can't get to them. We can't get to them, we can't communicate with them. And that just got me thinking, if there are people out there, do they laugh as well? What is the universal? Seriously, do they laugh as well? Is laughter really the universal language? Or, you start thinking back to Star Trek and, the Vulcans and they don't laugh. But I can't think that a civilization that is advanced enough to space, to perfect space travel, I can't think that they would have a certain degree of humor. They'd have to. Just me. I guess I can do Q&A. Archer's not here. Good. Yes. Questions? No. What is the sign for questions? Ask. Question.
No, ask.
Just ask. But it's not ask. It's not questions. It's asks. Like I'm asking everybody if they want to ask. So just a question mark. That's just what is that? That's or what? Yeah, but around here people are lazy. Some people do that, but most people just. See, he says yes. That means yes. But yeah, laughter. Just the benefits of laughter. The more research I do, is just amazing. Like it helps boost your immune system. You know, I talked about how it lowers your blood pressure. I talked about, it produces, it lowers, it raises your pain threshold, and I thought that was amazing. And just the more research I do on laughter, the more I realize that John was just right on the money when he conceptualized that little phrase into my head. And if you're not laughing, you're really not living. Like they're just, it's amazing. The benefit of just deep guttural laughter. It's if you do it right, it's like full body exercise. Like if your muscles tense up, it's good for your face. It's good for your abs. It's good to help you breathe because it gets, you know, if you've got like old mucus sitting in your lungs, good laughter helps get that up and moving and you get the snot out, man. I didn't say this is research. But it is. You get the old mucus snot in your moving. Why? Y'all are like 5-year-olds. You all too old to be laughing that hard as not. But no, just, and if you get a chance to do the research for yourself, I highly recommend it. The benefits of laughter are just new. No one has been able to find anything to say, yeah, no, we shouldn't laugh. No, laughter is not good for you. You should not laugh. Like, because you know, with science, there's always somebody that's going to try to detract everything. You know, in the science community, like, they live off of the phrase, haters gonna hate. Because there's always like, you know, gravity works. Newton came up with the theory of gravity, but at the same time, there are people who are like, yeah, I mean, it works, but I mean, it's cool, but and seriously, this is a great indicator. On a subatomic level, small, gravity does not work the way that it's supposed to on a larger scale. So, and people wouldn't have known that unless, you know, Newton had haters. So I'm just saying. and so within the scientific community, there are, you know, haters that go hate. And in doing that research, no one has been able to find any instance where they're like, you don't really need to laugh. So again, in closing, apparently this is the last time this year? Yes, the last time. If you're not laughing, you're not living. And so it is.
Thank you, Philip, and good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
I've been dealing with a stomach bug since yesterday. Stayed in bed all day, but I wanted to be here with you all this morning, and so I was trying to conserve my energy and everything. And it's good to be here. And what Richard said, one of the things that I did last night was that I was watching some stand-up comedy just to kind of help my mood and help me feel better, because I do know the power of laughter and what laughter can do. So it's great to be here this morning and to see all of you on what a beautiful, beautiful day. Just think back to a couple of Sundays ago of how things were, and think about today and how lovely and how beautiful it is today. We have been talking about love this month, this certainly being the month of love, with it being February, and we talked about love unconditionally in all aspects of love, but there's one type of love I didn't necessarily talk about, because I actually believe that love is love. It expresses itself in many different ways, but love is love. And the idea that love is a choice, we choose to love, and it's an energy that we we give and it's an energy that we receive. And so love is love. But today, what I wanted to talk about were some elements of love. And in this case, these elements have a great deal to do with the idea of love when we extend our love to someone else, to a partner, someone else who is important in our lives. And so I wanted to talk about some elements of love that I think that are important today, because they can help us as we in our own lives either are already experiencing love in that way, or we may be looking for love in that way. But whatever it is, these are some important elements of love. The first element of love is to remember that love begins with our thoughts. Love begins with our thoughts. The fact of the matter is, because we create our experiences through our thoughts, loving thoughts can create loving relationships. No surprise there. Loving thoughts can create loving relationships. And if we want to love someone, we extend loving thoughts toward that person. We extend loving thoughts for the kind of things in our lives, so that when we have that ideal partner that finally comes along, or we may be with that ideal partner, first of all, if we're looking for that ideal partner, by thinking thoughts of love and loving thoughts, we will recognize them when they show up. Because we have been transmitting that, we have been sending that out, we have been doing so. So the first thing is the idea is that having loving thoughts helps us create loving relationships. The second element of love is R-E-S-P-E-C-T. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, respect. We can't love anyone unless we respect them first. And before that, even before we can respect anybody else, we have to respect ourselves. Respect ourselves. Learn to respect ourselves. As self-respect is first. And so one of the ways that we do that is begin asking ourselves, what do I respect about myself? What is it about me that I respect? What are my standards? What are my boundaries? What are my limits in terms of what I will experience or take and what I won't? But to respect ourselves, because so many people out there we see that are in relationships and in other kinds of things where they don't experience respect because they don't respect themselves. And I've heard people say sometimes, well, a half a person is better than no person at all. But what kind of respect does that ultimately generate for ourselves? The third secret, or the third element of love, is the power of giving. There's a woman that I know, she's made a transition now, but she was an elderly woman, and she used to say all the time, she used to love saying, a bell isn't a bell unless you ring it. A song isn't a song unless you sing it. Love isn't love unless you give it away. The fact of giving being an important element of love in our lives, and how important it is. And the thing of it is that the more love that we give, the more we receive. The more love that we give, the more that we receive. To give of ourselves freely and unconditionally to others ultimately generates it back to us, because after all, what we put out there, it comes back to us. And so by giving love, by being loving, by loving those around us, but more importantly, when we are in the midst of that happy, lifelong relationship, or that loving relationship, focus on what we can give rather than what we can take. Focus on what we can give rather than what we can take. The fourth element of love is friendship. I remember my father telling me long ago, very long ago, when I was young and was talking about relationships and about marriage and all those things, something that he said to me was, make sure that you're friends first. Because there are going to be times when you're going to wonder where the love went, but if there's a friendship there, the friendship sustains the loving relationship through those times that are rough. Love doesn't consist always of gazing in each other's eyes, although that's nice. But there's a point at which we gaze both outwardly in the same direction, meaning that we are aligned with one another. And to love someone completely means that we love them for who they are, not for what they look like. To love someone completely is to love them for who they are, not what they look like. And friendship is the soil through which love seeds grow. If we want to have love in the relationship, nurture it with friendship. The fifth element of love is the power of touch. Touching is so important. Touching is an expression of love. Touching is breaking down barriers and bonding relationships. Touching is so important. One of the things that we do here at Leadership Memphis, we have the Urban Child Institute comes in and talks to us, and they were just here just this past week, and one of the things they talked about with infants, how important the touch is, the power of touch. That's one of the reasons why we do the moment of fellowship. Because there may be people that the only kind, loving touch that they have all week is right here. Touch is very, very important. Touch can change our emotional states and our physical states, and it can make us more receptive to love. The sixth element of love is the power of letting go. The power of letting go, not keeping count, keeping track of all of the hurts and all of the injustices and all of those things. But even in a loving relationship, we have to understand that what helps it to go is forgiveness. I've said this oftentimes, that forgiveness is the oil of human relationships. Forgiveness is the oil of human relationships. That if we are truly to be in relationships that work, we must learn how to forgive. Forgive is not condoning. Forgiving is not saying that what you did is okay, but forgiving is saying that I'm not going to tie myself to this experience so much that I let it distort everything else. Next element of love is the power of communication. To love someone is to communicate with them. It's to be able to talk. It's to be able to share. It's to be able to say the things that we wish to in a safe and loving space and environment, so that we communicate in such a way that we show that person that we truly love and appreciate them. And yes, it's still involved. Yes, it still means something. Those three simple words, I love you, still work. Still means something. Even in the days of texting and all of that, simply saying I love you means a lot and it goes a lot. We should never let an opportunity pass without taking the time to praise someone, to affirm someone, to acknowledge someone, to leave them with a loving word, to understand that it might be the last time that we see them. So we do that. The eighth element of love is the power of commitment. If we want to have love in abundance, we have to be committed to it. We have to understand that commitment is the true test of love. If we want to have loving relationships, we have to be committed to loving relationships. When we're committed to someone or something, it means that we are taking claim and making a stake in being in that place and being in that where loving. We do it in such a way that we distinguish a friendly relationship from a committed relationship. Number 9 is passion. Passion. Oh, I know a lot of times people in the context of spirituality and of church and of all of those things, we start talking about passion, they don't want to hear it, or they think that somehow it's not proper to say it in those contexts. But passion is important because passion ignites love and it keeps it alive. And lasting passion doesn't just come through physical attraction alone, but it comes from a deep commitment, enthusiasm, interest, and excitement. The essence of love and happiness are the same, and we all need to live each day with passion. And then finally, the secret to all of this is trust. We can't love someone if we can't trust them. I don't know how many people I've talked to that, they have to go through their partner's cell phone, check their text messages, see what they're posting on Facebook, all of those kinds of things. And that speaks of a relationship where there's a lack of trust. We can't love someone if we cannot trust them completely. And when we learn how to trust, we act as if that relationship with that person will never end. That trust is essential to loving relationships. And when we learn to trust ourselves and trust each other and trust the world, we've got a foundation for love. Now I know this is different from a lot of what you hear and a lot of what you experience, but I wanted to say to each and every one of you, no matter where you are in your life, no matter where you are along the spectrum of love, I wish you a loving, trusting, healthy, fulfilling, kind relationship. May they be good ones. May they be fantastic ones. May you truly experience love. And so it is.